Selamat datang Bapak Ibu di kegiatan Ielts webinar. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Kegiatan kita akan segera dimulai pukul 13:10. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah who has been giving us guidance, happiness, healthy energy, so we can attend and participate in this event without any obstacle. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nurul Ola, as Master of Ceremony in this seminar. It's a wonderful and precious chance for me to be your Master of Ceremony in this beautiful day in our special event, English Skill Development, with the themes Introduction to IELTS and Prediction Test. In this beautiful moment, I would like to say welcome to our speaker. Hello, Mr. Dennis Andreas. Dan sebentar lagi juga akan bergabung Mr. Tracy Shefflin. Selamat datang juga kepada Bapak Profesor Dr. Insinyur Anas Miftah Fauzi yang pada hari ini diwakili oleh Pak Agus Buwono. And selamat datang juga kepada Ketua Forum Wacana 2022, Bang Mangaraja Halongan Harahap, SPDMSI, and special welcome for all of the participants. Before we start the agenda, I would like to remember all of the participants to pay attention to the rules in this room. First, please display your real name in your Zoom account. Jadi pastikan Anda menggunakan nama asli pada akun Zoom. Yang kedua, ketika on cam pastikan Anda dalam posisi yang baik dengan menggunakan pakaian yang rapi dan sopan. Kemudian yang paling penting tidak masalah menggunakan bahasa Indonesia dalam webinar ini. Tapi ketika belajar IELTS, please try to use more English. Don't worry if you make a mistake either in grammar or pronunciation or anything. Yang harus diingat adalah no one should feel smarter than others. And next, we should try to be active and focused, speak up and never be ashamed to speak up first. And last, if you have a question, partisipan bisa menanyakan langsung ketika webinar sedang berlangsung dengan cara menyalakan mikrofon dan tanyakan pertanyaan secara langsung. Kemudian bisa dengan raise hand atau menggunakan fitur chat. Well, to take advantage of the time, let's start this agenda by prayer, which will be recited by Zakir Rabbani. For Zakir Rabbani, the time is yours.
Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik. Izinkan saya membacakan doa secara Islam. Mungkin teman-teman yang lain bisa menyesuaikan. Baik, sebelum berdoa, mari kita beristighfar 3 kali bersama. Astagfirullahaladzim, astagfirullahaladzim, astagfirullahaladzim. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qulillahumma malikal mulki tu'til mulka man tasya wa tanzi'ul mulka mimman tasya wa tu'izzu man tasya wa tuzillu man tasya biyadikal khair innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. Tulijul laila fin nahari wa tulijun nahara fil lail wa tukhrijul hayya minal mayit wa tukhrijul mayyita minal hayy wa tarzuqu man tasya'u bighairi hisab. Allahumma inna haza iqbalu naharik wa idbaru lailik wa aswatu du'atik faghfir lana. Allahumma innaka ta'lamu anna hazihil qulub qad ijtama'at ala mahabbatik wa taqat ala ta'atik wa tawahadat ala da'watik wa ta'ahadat ala nusrati syari'atik fawastikillahumma rabitataha wa adim muddaha wahdiha subulaha wa amlaha binurikal lazi la yakhbu washrah suduraha bifaidil imani bik wa jamilit tawakkuli alaik wa ahiha bima'rifatik wa amitha ala syahadati fi sabilik innaka ni'mal maula wa ni'man nasir. Ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim, berkailah dan ridhoilah agenda English Skill Development ini, agenda webinar Ielts pada siang kali ini ya Allah, dan jadikanlah agenda ini menjadi agenda yang bermanfaat bagi kami semua, dan semoga dengan adanya agenda ini bisa meningkatkan skill bahasa Inggris kita bersama dan menjadikan kita menjadi pribadi yang lebih baik. Allahumma amin wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the Zakir Rabbani who has recited the whole Quran. May Allah always bless us. Next, singing the Indonesian national anthem, hymn IPB and Mahasiswa Pascasarjana.
bersatu menuntut ilmu, kembangkan ide dan kreasi, hasilkan publikasi ilmiah, inovasi yang menginspirasi. Majulah mahasiswa pascasarjana, semangat laksanakan penelitian, sinergi berinovasi dan kreatif untuk kemajuan negeri. Majulah mahasiswa pascasarjana, wujudkan impian masa depan kita. Raih prestasi aktualisasi diri untuk kemajuan negeri. Jayalah IPB kita, jayalah Indonesia.
Okay, I would like to say welcome to Miss Tracy Shefflin. Welcome, Miss Tracy. Now we move to the next agenda, speech from the Chairman of Kabinet Wacana SSI as staff of Academic and Training Department for Wacana IPB University to Ekan Hasana. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang dan salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Segala puji bagi Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala yang telah memberikan nikmat dan kesehatan sehingga kita dapat berkumpul bersama pada kesempatan kali ini. Tak lupa salawat serta salam kita haturkan pada Nabi Muhammad SAW beserta keluarga dan para sahabat Nabi. Yang kami hormati Bapak Profesor Dr. Insinyur Anas Miftah Fauzi MA selaku Dekan Sekolah Pascasarjana IPB University yang pada saat ini diwakili oleh Bapak Profesor Dr. Insinyur Agus Buwono MSI MKom. Yang kami hormati Mr. Dennis Andreas selaku narasumber, dan yang kami hormati Miss Tracy Shefflin selaku narasumber. Selanjutnya yang kami hormati Mangaraja Halonganan Harahap SPD MSI selaku Ketua Umum Forum Mahasiswa Pascasarjana Kabinet Sinergi, serta seluruh tamu undangan dan peserta kegiatan Ielts webinar pada hari ini. Selanjutnya, hadirin yang saya hormati, pada hari ini kita melaksanakan kegiatan Ielts webinar dengan tema Expand Your World by Learning English. Kegiatan ini bertujuan meningkatkan kemampuan bahasa Inggris dan memberikan simulasi pelaksanaan agar lebih siap untuk mengikuti ujian Ielts yang sebenarnya. Pada kegiatan ini kami menghadirkan narasumber yang expert di bidangnya, di mana kegiatan ini diselenggarakan atas kerjasama Departemen Akademik dan Pelatihan Forum Mahasiswa Pascasarjana Kabinet Sinergi IPB University dengan lembaga Leader English, di mana merupakan salah satu lembaga yang menyediakan pelatihan dan kursus bahasa Inggris dan sudah berpengalaman. Rangkaian kegiatan ini terdiri dari yang pertama Ielts webinar yang membahas tentang speaking dan listening pada hari ini. Yang kedua, Ielts webinar 2 yang membahas reading dan writing pada tanggal 17 April 2022. Dan yang ketiga, Ielts prediction test yang akan dilaksanakan pada tanggal 24 April 2022. Di mana semua rangkaian kegiatan dilaksanakan secara online melalui aplikasi Zoom. Sampai saat ini ada pun jumlah peserta pada kegiatan hari ini terdiri dari 107 peserta yang kita buka secara umum dan termasuk sivitas IPB. Masih terbuka pendaftaran untuk webinar kedua hingga tanggal 16 April dan prediction test hingga tanggal 22 April 2022. Kami harap kegiatan ini dapat berjalan dengan lancar dan mendapatkan keberkahan serta ilmu yang bermanfaat. Selanjutnya, kami ucapkan terima kasih sebesar-besarnya kepada seluruh pihak yang telah berkontribusi dan mensukseskan acara ini. Akhir kata, kami segenap panitia mohon maaf bila selama penyelenggaraan kegiatan ini hingga akhir terdapat kekurangan ataupun kekeliruan. Mungkin itu yang dapat saya sampaikan. Saya akhiri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Eka Hasana for this speech. And next speech from Head of Forum Wacana 2022, Mr. Mangaraja Halamunan Harahap SP dan MSI. The screen is yours.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Miss Nurul A'la yang sudah membawakan acara kita, MC-nya ya. Pertama, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat siang semuanya. Segala puji bagi Allah. Mana pada siang hari ini kita masih diberikan kesehatan, ini bisa berlangsung sampai dengan sukses, sampai sukses ya, ketika sampai tanggal 24. Kemudian salat dan salam kehadiran kepada Nabi kita Muhammad SAW, mudah-mudahan kita mendapatkan syafaatnya di yaumil akhir nanti. Yang saya hormati Profesor Dr. Insinyur Agus Buwono, MSI MKom, yang sudah berhadir selaku pimpinan kita di Sekolah Pascasarjana. Juga yang saya hormati Mr. Dennis Andreas, yaitu Kepala Leader English ya. Kemudian juga yang saya hormati narasumber kita juga yaitu Miss Tracy Saplin. Juga yang saya hormati Mbak Siti Aminah, Ketua Departemen Akademik dan Pelatihan. Juga yang saya hormati Mbak Eka Nur Hasana, Ketua Panitia Acara, serta jajarannya. Dan hari ini juga yang saya hormati seluruh jajaran pengurus Forum Mahasiswa Pascasarjana untuk periode 2022. Saya ucapkan ya, pertama selamat dan sukses atas terselenggaranya English Skill Development ini. Mudah-mudahan dari output dari kegiatan ini bisa meningkatkan kualitas kemampuan berbahasa Inggris kita, dan mudah-mudahan output dari ini kita kedepannya bisa mencapai karir kita di masa yang akan datang lebih baik lagi, dan apa yang menjadi harapan dan cita-cita kita di masa yang akan datang bisa terwujud. Karena memang kemampuan bahasa Inggris ini sudah istilahnya menjadi kemampuan wajib ya, yang harus kita miliki, kemampuan dasar di mana agar kita bisa berinteraksi dengan masyarakat global gitu ya. Nah, mudah-mudahan saya berharap kegiatan English Skill Development ini bisa berkembang, dan bukan hanya untuk sampai tanggal 24 April, tapi bisa berulang-ulang. Dan kita berharap mudah-mudahan Mr. Dennis dan Miss Tracy Saplin nggak bosan-bosan untuk memberikan ilmunya kepada kita ya, dengan Forum Mahasiswa Pascasarjana. Insya Allah kedepannya kita juga akan maksimal untuk melaksanakan agenda-agenda pembelajaran bahasa Inggris ini. Itu sekali lagi saya ucapkan ya, terima kasih kepada seluruh jajaran Departemen Akademik dan Pelatihan, pengurus Forum Mahasiswa Pascasarjana. Mudah-mudahan ke depan teman-teman semuanya diberikan kesehatan dan kesuksesan dalam karirnya. Itu saja mungkin dari saya. Terima kasih semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Mangaraja. And last speech from Dean of Graduate School of IPB University. Dalam hal ini digantikan oleh Profesor Dr. Insinyur Agus Buwono, MSI MKom. Kepada Bapak kami persilakan.
Baik, terima kasih atas waktunya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pertama-tama pada kesempatan ini marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur Allah Subhanahu wa taala atas limpahan rahmat nikmat pada kita, sehingga kita masih diberikan kesempatan untuk bisa melaksanakan kegiatan-kegiatan yang sangat baik ini. Dan selanjutnya pada kesempatan ini juga saya sampaikan terima kasih yang besar-besarnya kepada pembicara, Miss Tracy Shevlin and Dennis Andreas as the speaker in this activity. Thank you for being willing to share your knowledge to our student. Juga kepada Forum Wacana serta divisinya yang telah melakukan kegiatan ini, seluruh panitia, juga kepada seluruh partisipan di dalam kegiatan ini. Yang selanjutnya di sini saya mewakili Pak Dekan dikarenakan pada hari ini Pak Dekan ada keperluan lain yang mendadak. Jadi kemarin sore begitu ya, habis sebelum maghrib beliau menyampaikan minta ke saya, dan kebetulan saya juga hari ini tidak tidak ada kegiatan, tidak ada jadwal, sehingga alhamdulillah bisa hadir di sini. Nah, Pascasarjana ini menyambut baik kegiatan ini dan melihat bahwa kegiatan ini sangat strategis dilaksanakan karena ke depan itu mahasiswa selain pengetahuan di bidang keilmuannya, itu juga harus mempunyai setidaknya 3 hal skill, ya, yaitu mulai dari data literasi, ya. Jadi harus bagaimana mengenai pemrosesan data, analisis dan sebagainya. Juga ICT literacy, bagaimana memanfaatkan ya ICT seperti itu. Dan yang ketiga ini adalah skill dalam komunikasi. Sehingga kegiatan ini akan mendukung salah satu dari 3 skill tersebut yang harus dimiliki oleh para lulusan nantinya, di samping pengetahuan terkait keilmuannya. Oleh karena itu, Forum Wacana mungkin di dalam divisinya perlu juga melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan semacam ini untuk meningkatkan 2 skill yang tadi, yaitu data literacy dan juga ICT literacy. Sehingga mahasiswa itu di dalam ICT literacy itu paham ya bagaimana menggunakan ICT itu untuk mempermudah pekerjaannya dan juga membuat jaringan komunikasi dan sebagainya. Juga terkait dengan literasi yang ketiga, yaitu data literacy, terkait bagaimana analisis dan sebagainya, penampilan data dan seterusnya. Nah, itu harus dimiliki oleh lulusan. Sehingga ini sangat baik sekali kalau itu secara terprogram dilakukan ya, di samping yang bahasa Inggris ini. Dan tentunya juga bahasa Inggris ini tentunya perlu tidak hanya diteruskan ya, tetapi kesinambungkan dan juga ditingkatkan lagi, baik dari segi frekuensinya ya, karena tentu saja dalam satu batch itu mungkin pesertanya kan belum bisa mengcover semua mahasiswa. Jadi mungkin perlu frekuensinya itu ditingkatkan, juga barangkali dari segi kedalaman materinya ya, dan juga keluasannya. Barangkali tidak hanya Ielts ya, tetapi barangkali juga perlu yang lain ya, supaya intinya mahasiswa itu bisa terdukung skill komunikasinya, khususnya dalam bahasa Inggris ya. Baik, selain itu IPB juga mensupport atau memfasilitasi ini ya. Nanti setelah panitiaan gitu ya, baik panitianya ataupun pesertanya gitu ya, yang mendapatkan skill seperti itu, mungkin bisa diajukan ya ke dalam SKPI ya. Jadi SKPI ini akan diberlakukan ya sejak semester ini ya, mungkin bulan April atau Mei ini mestinya sudah ya. Itu melalui sistem Ditmawa ya. Jadi sekarang yang sedang kita pikirkan adalah bagaimana nanti yang melakukan verifikasinya. Karena apakah prodi, kalau wakil dekan barangkali dalam satu fakultas bisa keteteran ya, tetapi kalau prodi mungkin lebih ini. Jadi itu yang kita pikirkan. Tetapi pengajuannya sudah, kalau mestinya sudah bisa dilakukan ya. Jadi ini akan menambah selain nanti ijazah juga semacam SKPI begitu ya. Dan juga khusus untuk bahasa Inggris ini nanti bisa, karena kalau di IPB itu bahasa Inggris kan syarat lulus ya, bukan syarat masuk ya, sehingga bagi yang lulus di sini mendapatkan akhirnya ikut ujian ya, ini kan baru latihannya ya, lalu nanti kalau akhirnya misalkan ikut dalam ujian yang sebenarnya dan bisa lolos, maka itu sudah mengurangi beban ya, syarat untuk lulusnya ya. Karena ini banyak mahasiswa yang terkendala, ya mungkin tidak banyak ya, tetapi ada ya, dari ya sekitar 5% ada, tetapi 5% itu besar ya, karena kan jumlah mahasiswanya kan sekitar 5.000 ya, jadi kalau 5% kan sudah 200-an gitu ya, jadi 200 lebih, jadi itu cukup banyak gitu ya. Itu yang bahasa Inggrisnya ya, itu terkendala. Salah satunya adalah misalkan sudah merasa lulus ya, karena sudah mengikuti kelas B ya misalnya, aman, tapi setelah lalu sehingga tidak mengurus pas sudah ujian, pas mau ngurus SKL ternyata belum, sehingga pengurusan SKL-nya tertunda. Jadi harus ikut ujian dahulu ya, mengambil sertifikasi apakah TOEFL atau Ielts atau yang lain seperti itu. Jadi ini akan mensupport ya, mendukung ke situ. Dan juga pada kesempatan ini juga, mumpung ada kesempatan, ini saya mengingatkan kembali ya bagi mahasiswa ya, S2 itu kurikulum 4 semester ya, S3 itu 6 semester ya. Meskipun di dalam peraturan dikti itu S2 bisa 8 semester, S3 bisa 14 semester ya. Kalau aturan IPB S2 itu 7 ya, tidak 8 tapi 7, dan S3 itu hanya 10 maksimum ya, tidak sampai 14. Nah, sekarang ada beberapa mahasiswa yang terlena sehingga sampai lewat semester 14 untuk S3 dan lewat semester 10 sehingga tidak bisa mendapatkan PIN. Jadi ada mahasiswa yang sudah hampir setahun lebih mengurus tapi tidak bisa karena belum tuntas maksudnya ya. Nah itu jadi mohon bahwa Anda timeline studi tadi benar-benar dicermati ya, dan yang namanya tuntas itu sampai dengan SKL ya. Jadi kalau Anda sudah promosi ataupun sudah ujian tesis, meskipun lulus itu belum lulus ya, studinya belum lulus, baru ujian tesis yang lulus. Ini banyak mahasiswa merasa sudah lulus ujian tesis berarti lulus, akhirnya sampai 1 semester statusnya nonaktif ya, sehingga untuk mengaktifkan kembali harus mengurus ke IPB. Nah ini kalau masih ada waktu, masih memungkinkan. Kalau sudah lebih 8 semester udah nggak bisa lulus lagi, nggak dapat ijazah ya. Dan juga kena SPP. Jadi benar-benar tolong dilihat itu waktunya, dan ini kan bahwa lulus ujian tesis itu bukan berarti sudah lulus studi, harus sampai dengan SKL seperti itu. Baik, sekali lagi sebagai penutup saya sampaikan terima kasih pada semuanya yang sudah terlibat, mulai dari para pembicara, Mr. Sevlin dan juga Mr. Dennis Andreas, serta para partisipan forum Wacana ya, diketuai oleh Pak Raja Harahap ya. Jadi dan juga timnya ya, serta seluruh panitia. Saya sampaikan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya. Semoga kegiatan ini sukses, memberikan manfaat sebesar-besarnya, dan ini bagi semuanya ya, panitia maupun peserta, ini juga narasumber, ini sebagai amal baik ya, amal baik yang akan menemani kita seterusnya. Baik, demikian, selamat mengikuti kegiatan ini. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Prof. Agus sudah memberikan kata-kata sambutannya pada hari ini. Okay, before we continue the next agenda, we will do a documentation session, and please to all of the participants to open camera and give your sweetest smile. Dan kepada panitia yang bertugas, tolong isi yours.
Ya, baik. Di sini ada 5 slide. Dipersilahkan untuk teman-teman semua yang memungkinkan untuk menyalakan kamera, bisa menyalakan kamera dan memberikan senyum terbaiknya. Slide pertama. 1, 2, 3. Slide kedua. 1, 2, 3. Slide ketiga. 1, 2, 3. Slide keempat. Dan slide terakhir. Baik, terima kasih. Dikembalikan ke MC.
Okay, thank you. We move to the main agenda. There is IELTS webinar and prediction test. On this day, we will focus on speaking and listening session. And this event will be moderated by Anissa Dia RSTP. Anissa is a member of Academic and Training Department for Wacana and also master student of nutrition science at IPB University. For Anissa Dia, the time is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Nurul, our Master of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to our speakers and all participants. Thank you for coming to today's webinar. You can call me Anissa, and I'm very happy to be here as a moderator in this presentation session of IELTS webinar. I would like to remind the participant, if you have question to the speaker, you can directly turn on your mic and ask your question. You also can raise hand and I will help to notify the speaker about your question. But if you don't want to or have a problem to give your question verbally, you may use the chat feature and type your question and I will help convey your question to the speakers. Feel free to submit your question in English or Indonesia. However, remember we are learning IELTS today. So I suggest you try to use more English. No need to be shy and remember, no one should feel smarter than the others. Jadi, saya mengingatkan kepada hadirin semua, jika memiliki pertanyaan, peserta boleh langsung menyalakan mic dan menyampaikan pertanyaannya kepada pemateri. Peserta juga boleh menggunakan fitur raise hand, dan saya akan membantu memberitahu pemateri bahwa ada yang ingin bertanya. Namun, jika ada masalah jaringan atau tidak dapat menyampaikan pertanyaan secara verbal, peserta juga boleh menggunakan fitur chat pada Zoom dan menuliskan pertanyaannya. Kemudian, saya akan membantu untuk menyampaikan pertanyaan tersebut. Peserta dipersilahkan untuk bertanya dalam bahasa Inggris ataupun bahasa Indonesia. Tetapi, kita sekarang sedang belajar IELTS. Saya menyarankan kepada peserta untuk mencoba menggunakan lebih banyak bahasa Inggris. Tidak perlu merasa malu, karena kita sama-sama sedang belajar. Before we start, allow me to introduce our speakers. Today, we have Miss Tracy Seflin and Mr. Dennis Andreas. Good afternoon, Miss Tracy and Mr. Dennis. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Glad to hear everyone is fine and healthy today. So let's move to the introduction. Currently, Miss Tracy lives in Brisbane, Australia. She is an English teacher with a lot of experiences. Her teaching career started in 2007 when she moved to China to teach ESL or English as Second Language in Guangzhou. A year later, she continued her career in Indonesia and teach English in EF Pajajaran. In Indonesia, she became a senior teacher and soon promoted to become the director of studies in EF Taman Yasmin. Overall, she spent 6 years living and teaching in Bogor, Indonesia. Her specialty while teaching in EF was IEP classes and Ielts. Her qualification as English teachers include a TESOL, CELTA, Delta, and a degree in language and linguistics. Next, we have Mr. Dennis. He graduated from IPB University in 2013. 4 years later, after graduating from IPB, he started an English teaching institution named Leader English. In Leader English, there are some learning classes like TOEFL, IELTS. There are also English conversation club. You can ask Mr. Dennis if you are interested. And then he also have student exchange experience to USA in 2005. Currently, he lives in Bogor, Indonesia with his wife and son. Because the time keeps running, let's move quickly to the presentation session. Without further ado, I would like to invite our speakers, Mr. Dennis and Ms. Tracy, to deliver the presentation. You have 40 minutes. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Anissa, for your great introduction. So, yes, I and Ms. Tracy today will deliver the webinar about IELTS and everything. And today's activity, we already did the photo session. We already did the introduction about me and Ms. Tracy. So I'm going to skip that one. And Ms. Anissa previously already mentioned about the agreement statement or the conduct of things before. And thank you very much for introducing us. And before that, so I just go through the speaking warm-up. Yeah, so again, like what Ms. Anissa said, you can call my name as Mr. Doraemon or Mr. Dennis. It's fine for calling me Mr. Doraemon or Mr. Dennis. And like what Ms. Anissa said, we have also Ms. Tracy. She will have some simulation session for speaking practice today for IELTS. Ya, dan seperti yang dikatakan Ms. Anissa tadi, nggak usah khawatir. If you guys are worried to speak in English, so it's actually fine to mix and match between Bahasa and English. Since Ms. Tracy probably understands Bahasa a bit, but I understand Bahasa Indonesia completely. Jadi nggak apa-apa. Don't let this webinar to be something so serious. It is serious, but we try to have some fun in this session. So I only just have these 3 statements I already sent to the group earlier. And let me introduce a bit what is an IELTS. So beside IELTS, they actually have many other exam preparations. We have TOEFL, paper-based test or ITP. We have the IBT, TOEIC, SAT, or GMAT. But we're going to focus on IELTS only for today. And what's actually IELTS? IELTS stands for the International English Language Testing System. The score is between scale 0 until 9, and it is also possible to have 0.5 in between the score. The certificate comes from 3 institutions, from British Council, IDP, or IALL. And how many types IELTS are for some of you who just knew about IELTS? In terms of the aim, there are 2 aims. First, if you want to continue a study, you can take the academic IELTS, or if you want to work or you want to have the training overseas, you can take the general training. In terms of the way we do the IELTS test, currently actually there are 3, but the most common one, there are 2. The paper-based test and the computer-based test. Currently, since pandemic last year, British Council also actually released the internet-based test, but it's not that really common for all scholarships or for all universities around the world. And what we can use the IELTS certificates for. So as I said earlier, you can use it to continue your degree. Let's say that from Wacana mostly are the master students. So if you want to continue for the PhD, you can use the certificate. You can also use the certificate to working abroad, as I said earlier, if you take the general training part. And what's the difference between paper-based tests and the computer-based tests? In the paper-based test, the listening will be conducted by the giant speaker. So everyone will listen the audio from the giant speaker. While the reading part, you're gonna have some answering sheets, also the questions on the paper. You can take notes there. It's a bit different than TOEFL, TOEFL paper based. I mean, in TOEFL paper based, you cannot take any notes, but in IELTS, you are allowed to take some notes. And if you take the paper based test, you also have the writing test and the speaking test, which are different than the TOEFL paper based test. So in writing test, if you take the paper base, you're going to use your hand manually. While in speaking, later on, you will also have chance today to speak with Miss Tracy, and she will give some tips and tricks. And I'm going to help her, assist her to moderate the session. While the computer-based test, the difference is the listening part, everyone will be provided by the headset or by the by the earphone. But you don't need to bring your own earphone or headset. The committee will provide it for you. Either you take it in British Council, IDP, or ILF. The thing in the reading part also, it's not gonna be on the paper for sure because it's called as computer-based test. So it's gonna be written on the paper, on the screen. You are also allowed to, the committee also will allow you to get a piece of paper. So if you want to take some notes on the piece of paper, you are also okay with that. And the computer-based test doesn't need your hand for doing the writing test. So you're gonna typing on your computer. Probably the most annoying part for me is the sound of cetak 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 cetak. You know, when you type something, it's kind of embarrassing for me for doing the writing test because the clicking of the keyboard, but the speaking test, it's gonna be conducted face to face. So even though it's computer based, it's not gonna be online, except the one that I said earlier, which is the internet based test, although it's not really common so far. And how much is the IELTS test? So if you want to take the IELTS test, you need to provide 3 million rupiah. So you can take in any other institution that I mentioned earlier. And as what Miss Anissa said, Leaders English or LE, we also provide some preparation tests, and also we can help you to have some tests earlier. These are some success students, but we also will say that Leaders English will never guarantee your score, because it doesn't mean that if you study in Leaders English, you will get straight 8.0. I cannot guarantee that. Yeah, the only the one who can guarantee is the creator. Yeah, but we can provide you with some proper assist. So how can you get a good score in speaking, writing, listening, and reading? So before we go to Miss Tracy, I just want to have some warmer. So in this warmer, if everyone wants to be involved, you can just use the emoticon button, which is the raising hand button, or you can just turn on your microphone directly. And if you don't mind, Miss Anissa, you may help me to see who's actually raising hand. So without further ado, I actually would like to start with the first question. Siapa aja yang mau jawab, silahkan. Before you talk with Miss Tracy. Yeah. So what will you definitely choose? Okay, Mr. Odi. I think I know who Mr. Odi is. Mr. Odi, if you need to choose be rich and ugly or be poor and handsome, which one would you like to prefer? You may unmute yourself, sir. Yeah, there you go, please.
Okay, thank you for having me in this question. From my preference, I will choose to be rich and ugly.
Why?
Yes, in my opinion, by having wealthy, I can make my appearance be better by visiting a salon or any I can make my appearance be better by having a by visiting skincare clinic or something like that. And I believe, even though the money is not everything, but by having money, I can make my skin, especially for having warm or and what should I say? Yeah, I can buy any skin product by money.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Odi, for your opinion. So money is not everything, but everything needs money. So that's why rich and ugly. That's what Mr. Odi said. Okay, the next question. If you want to answer, just raise your hand like Mr. Odi. The next question is, what will you definitely choose? Find your true love or have lots of money? Why do I always talk about money? But that's what we need. So if anybody wants to raise your hand, you can just raise your hand. I'm going to count into 3 seconds. If nobody wants to raise their hand, I'm going to nominate. So I'm going to count into 3 seconds. Beside Mr. Odi, anyone else? 3, 2, 1. Okay, Miss Tri Prabowo, would you please, is it Mr. or Miss? Oh, Mr. Tri Prabowo. Okay, thank you. What will you definitely choose, sir? Find true love or have lots of money?
Okay, thank you, Mister. I think I'm gonna choose the find true love.
Why do you think so?
Yeah, because in Indonesia, I think there is, how to say that, pepatah ya, behind the success man, behind the success man, there is how to say that, there is a, yeah, there is a there is a good girl. It means that if we find the true love, it means that they can, I mean, she can encourage us to be a perfect man. And of course, during the time, I mean, time by time, we also have a lot of money by that. I think that's all.
Marvelous. Thank you very much, Mr. Tri Prabowo.
Okay.
And the last woman, the last question is, what will you definitely choose? Live with no music or live with no internet? Okay, 3 seconds. I'm going to count down. You can raise your hand like, okay, Miss Mutia Anika. Would you please to unmute yourself, please?
Okay, thank you. I choose I live with no music.
Why do you think so?
Because internet we can connect music too, and we can do a lot of things with internet. But music just hearing. I think that.
Thank you very much, Miss Mutia, for your answers. So that's the warm-up for everyone. Now we go to the next session. It's about IELTS speaking tips and tricks. So for the next part, I'm gonna leave this for Miss Tracy. I'll be your assistant, Miss Tracy. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Doraemon. So in the IELTS speaking, there are different tasks. The IELTS speaking tasks are divided into 3 parts and an introduction, which are the introduction, where the examiner will ask who you are, your credentials, provide your identification. The speaking test part 1, then speaking test part 2, and speaking test part 3. Each person will be interviewed for about 13 to 15 minutes individually. The criteria for the IELTS speaking, which you will be assessed on, is fluency and coherency, so your understanding and your speed of your English speaking, your lexical resource, so the vocabulary that you show the examiner, the grammatical range and accuracy. The speaking will have different grammatical sentence structures that you can use, from simple present to past, even to present perfect. So if you understand the grammatical range, show the examiner that you have this ability. Also, your pronunciation. This doesn't include your accent. You definitely will have an accent. Even I, as an English speaker, have an Australian accent. So the pronunciation is more about how you pronounce the words correctly, not your accent. Each person will be scored from the band on a 0 to 9 base. The introduction. So you will need to take some identification with you, usually your ID card or your passport, which the examiner will ask for and check if this information matches your answer.
So speaking part 1, this is a face-to-face interview with the examiner that lasts for approximately 4 to 5 minutes. This is a chance for you to communicate with the examiner in relatively short but not too short answers. The topics are also something familiar to you. So there'll be questions about yourself, your life, or your country. Nothing too out of the ordinary. So the topics could include about your work, your study, your hometown, clothes that you wear, your family and friends, food specific to your country, what you do for your birthdays. These are all things that you will have experienced or have knowledge about for yourself. So some examples would be about your work. What is your job? Where do you work? Why did you choose this job? And is it a popular job in your country? So these are all things that you should be able to answer from having the knowledge or the experience. Some do's for the speaking part 1. Be confident and friendly and have eye contact. You are going to be nervous and this is natural. So just remember that keeping eye contact and being friendly is a good thing. Be excited, but not too excited. Obviously, you're going to be nervous. This is natural. Show the vocabulary that you have. If you can expand it, this shows the examiner your range. So if you know the words for food and you use cuisine, this is obviously going to get you a higher band score. Expanding the I like. You could say, I really like, I prefer. Expanding your answers always shows the examiner how much vocabulary you do know and understand. And practice. Practice English as much as you can. Some don'ts. So English is a tonal language that we use to express. So don't just speak in one tone and show no emotion. This is really boring and it's not like a native speaker. So emphasis and stress and pronunciation all show the different skills of English. Giving yes and no answers does not show the examiner how much English you know. So make sure you expand on your English. Repeating the question is okay if you do not understand the question, but don't always repeat the question when it's asked to you. Stay on topic if you can. It's very easy to get distracted, but you only have a short amount of time. And if you don't specifically answer the question that's being asked, that could show the examiner that you don't understand what is being asked of you. Try not to answer the question, I don't know. Even if you don't know the answer, you could explain using different words. To be honest, I've actually never heard anything about that, or I've never actually researched anything on that. Expanding on the answer to tell them I don't know, rather than just saying I don't know. Speaking too quickly and slowly is a difficult one because when we get nervous, we speak quickly. And when we get nervous, we also get lost for our words. Just practicing at home and being confident is one way to get through this. Speaking quietly, the examiner won't be able to hear what you're saying. So be confident again and speak with the normal tone that you would use. If you worry about perfect English, you are going to get lost in your head. Nobody's perfect. Even native speakers make mistakes. But one thing, if you do hear yourself make a mistake, self-correction is a really good way to show the examiner that you do understand you've made a mistake and now I'm correcting it.
So now there will be the speaking simulation. for any of you wants to try. Only part 1 and then also the introduction part. And after that, you will get some feedback from Miss Tracy. So does anybody wants to try the speaking part 1 and introduction? I only give 2 people maximum. So anybody wants, okay. Miss Ayu Kusmawijaya and after that, Mr. Odi. Okay. Miss Ayu Kusmawijaya, okay. Would you mind to show your video if you don't mind?
Okay, Mr. Dennis, wait. Oh, I am a bit nervous.
If I were you,
Very natural.
But if it's not possible to show your video, it's okay.
Oh.
There you go. Now you can. Okay.
You see.
Tracy, in part 1, we will not show the list of questions. So Miss Tracy will ask you questions related to what she has. You have the questions, right, Trace?
I do.
I will be your timer, so there's only like just about 3 minutes maximum.
Okay.
Okay, please, Trace.
Hi, Ayu.
Hi, Miss Tracy.
Are you ready?
Yes, inshallah, I'm ready.
Okay. Do you like reading books and why?
I like reading books, but it's not all the books. The specific one, the book that I like, just like a novel or developing books, I think.
What book would you take on a long journey?
I'm definitely take a novel because I really love to read novel. Like a romance story or fiction story.
How easy is it for you to read books in English?
Pardon, can you repeat the question?
How easy is it for you to read books in English?
Actually, I read a book in English. If I don't get the meaning, I will translate or translate so I can know what is the meaning. And if the book is really interesting for me, so I will to put my effort to know what is the meaning of the book. I think that one. Is that my answer correct?
Have you given up reading a book recently?
What, can you repeat the question, Miss Tracy?
Mm-hmm. Have you given up reading a book recently?
Up reading? I don't know the meaning. I mean, up reading. What is the meaning of reading?
It's okay. What kind of people like reading and what kind of people don't like reading very much?
I think people like reading. I'm sorry. I think I can't.
Time's up, Trace. Time's up, Miss Ayu. Okay. Tracy, would you like to give the feedback for her, please?
I think Ayu did very well. It's you're very nervous, so it's fine.
Yes, very nervous.
You showed me your range of vocabulary with specific and developing and definitely. You asked me to repeat the question because you either didn't hear it or perhaps didn't quite understand, which is fine. That's better to do than to answer the question totally incorrectly. And I would just say the only error was that you said, I like to read novel instead of novels. So be careful of your plurals.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Miss Tracy and Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Miss Ayu. So the next participant will be the second one is Mr. Odi. Mr. Odi, you have 2 until 3 minutes with Miss Tracy. Please, Miss Tracy.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Tracy. Nice
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you like watching advertisements?
I don't think so. In my opinion, watching advertisement will cost my time because when I turn on the TV, I just want to watch opera soap or the news from it.
Will you buy something because of an advertisement?
It depends on the uniqueness of the advertisement. I will say yes if the advertisement can attract their products more unique than another. And yeah, as a man, I believe I will decide every time that I want to purchase based on my needs, not from the outside aspects.
How do you feel when you see pop-up ads on the internet?
Pardon me, Miss, would you mind to repeat the question?
How do you feel when you see pop-up ads on the internet?
Okay, thank you. Pop-up ads. Definitely, I will close it directly because these pop-up ads often block my views on my monitor. And yeah, to be honest, several of them often showed some porn or spam news on the ads.
Do you like funny or serious advertisements?
I think I prefer watching funny advertisement to serious because by watching the funny thing, even though it's just only advertisement, it will make my day. It will I think I will be over the moon by watching something that fun. And as I know, the Thailand advertisement is the #1 uniqueness than just other advertisement.
Thank you, Trace. That's the time's up. Probably you may give some advice for Mr. Odi.
Yes, I think your fluency and your pronunciation is really good. It's a little tricky that part 1 is about introducing yourself, and you were using a lot of I think and I prefer, which is more used in part 3 when you're giving reasons for your answers. So it's a little tricky, your one. Yeah. How do you feel? Perhaps more about your emotion or yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Trace. Thank you, Mr. Odi, for your chance. For others, don't worry. We still have some other simulation, especially for part 2 and part 3. And you can still give us some questions in the chat box and we try our best to answer your questions. Okay, the next one, speaking part 2, please, together with part 3.
Okay, so part 2 is not the same as part 1. Part 2 is where you have a short time to prepare your answer, and then you will speak by yourself. So it's not a one-to-one speaking topic. You'll be given a topic card. So this will have your question on it, and you have 1 minute to prepare for your 1 to 2 minute talk. The examiner will let you know when to start talking and keep talking for as long as you can. The examiner will then stop you when your time is up. Most of the topics are stories about yourself or something that happened in your life. So again, the topic should not be too difficult for you to talk about. And you should be able to come up with enough to speak about for the 1 to 2 minutes. So some examples. Describe some good news you recently received. The topic card will also give you prompts of what you should be answering within the topic. So you should answer for this question: what the news was, how you received the news, who gave it to you, and explain why this was good news. These prompts should give you enough to talk about for your topic. Make sure that you answer each of these prompts as well. Some do's for part 2. Do make sure that you take notes and write keywords. You do not have enough time to write complete sentences, but you do want to have enough notes to prompt you to keep talking about the topic. Cover every point. The examiner is going to see if you have covered every point that they've prompted you. Use personal experience. It's much easier to remember something that happened to you. And if this hasn't actually happened to you, you could talk about it happening to someone you know. It's still talking about the experience. If you tell a lie, it's much harder to remember. Organize your speech. So the intro and the body and a conclusion, similar to that in reading. Imagine the object, the person, or the place. Use introduction phrases. For example, I want to talk about, I want to tell you about. Some don'ts.
Am I too fast?
I lost the bottom of the
Sorry.
screen.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay. If you want to continue, please.
It's okay. The don'ts is.
Yeah, please.
Some don'ts for part 2. I don't think you will be able to memorize your answers because you're not going to know the question, but definitely practice, because this makes you better and more fluent at being able to answer. As I said previously, do not write full sentences. You just need 1 or 2 words to prompt your memory what you were going to say. Try not to panic. You are going to be nervous. And when we get nervous, we panic and we lose our vocabulary. Don't focus on one point. The topic card gives you a key question with 3 or 4 points that you should be talking about within your answer. Try not to use boring words. This is an excellent time to show the examiner your range of vocabulary. So if you can mix up the different vocabulary, this is really good. This is not the short answer part. This is the long answer part for you to show the examiner that you can keep talking about a topic for an amount of time. And try to stay on topic. You should have what you're going to say for your question, and then you have your key points. Try to stick to those key points rather than talking about something that's not relevant to what's been asked. Part 3. So part 3 is the discussion part. So we've done the introduction, we've done the participants speaking by themselves, and now is a little interview with the examiner and the participant. The examiner will ask a broader range of questions based on the topic that you talked about in part 2. The questions require you to expand your answers further with explanations of why and examples that you have. The examiner will strictly control the time and tell you when that part is over. This is the part. So this is the part where you will use vocabulary like I think, or I prefer, or I believe, because they're asking for you to give your reasoning. So if your part 2 topic was about your family, you might get asked your part 3 about family, not specifically your family, but family in general. So is family important in your country?
Or how has the size of family changed in the last few decades in your country? So these are just general questions about the topic that was in part 2. Some do's of the speaking part 3. Listen for the keywords. These are going to help you to understand what's important to this question. If you don't understand the question, ask the examiner. As I said before, it's better to ask and understand than to not have caught the idea and answer something that's completely different to the question. This is your time to give detail, examples, and reasonings. So if you have an I think, you also need to say why. Why do you think this way? Give examples as to why you think this way. Stay on topic. Again, answering something that's not relevant is not showing the examiner that you understood the question. Have confidence. Show your vocabulary. This is done all through the speaking to show your range of vocabulary. If you can relate questions to your own life, again, it's easier to think if it's actually happened to you, and that way you'll be more fluent in speaking. Yeah. Some don'ts. Again, I don't think you can memorize the answers because you're not going to know the question. But the more that you practice at home, the more you'll have the vocabulary and the structures in your mind. Don't worry if you make mistakes. Self-correcting is a really good way to show the examiner, I understood I made a mistake and now I'm correcting it. Natural speakers do use ums and ahs because that's the time that we're thinking of our answer, but don't use too many of them. This is going to show the examiner, oh, I don't really know how or how to use the answers for this. Using I think in part 3 is good, but we also have I think, I prefer, I believe, and this shows the examiner, your range of vocabulary is broader than just I think. As a space filler, while you're trying to think of your answer, you could say, oh, that's a really good question. And that gives you 2 or 3 seconds to think about, oh, what am I going to say? And again, do not worry if you have an accent. We all have an accent. Mine is an Australian accent. So you have an Indonesian accent speaking English.
Okay, so now it's the simulation again. Like before, does anyone want to try the... Okay, we have Miss Mutia and after that, Miss Melsa Santri. And let's see if we have another time for others, yeah? Okay, so first I will let Miss Mutia Anika. Would you mind to show your video if it's possible?
I'm sorry, it's not possible because
Okay.
rainy here.
Sure, if it's not possible, it's fine. In speaking part 2, you can see the question. Miss Tracy, would you please read the question, please?
First, Mutia, do you have some pen and paper?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So the question you have is, describe a famous food from your hometown or country. You should say what it looks like, what it tastes like, when and how it is usually eaten, and say why you think it is famous.
You have 1 minute, Miss Mutia, to prepare. Start from now.
Okay.
Time's up, Miss Mutia. Now you have 2 until 3 minutes to answer the question. Start from now, please.
Okay, I will describe a very famous food from my hometown, but not in my home, just my hometown, but maybe in world. It's rendang from West Sumatra. I'm from West Sumatra and from Minang. Okay, what it looks like, it's like, it's not really interesting to look at, just black all around the looks, but it have a specific smell like spice like that, and it's from a coconut milk and mixed with, usually we use a meat or maybe a chicken, but it can also with a potato, and the taste is really yummy. And when we didn't have a specific time to eat that, but almost maybe often we always eat that when like Ramadan or Eid Mubarak or a big event like a wedding, that always have that. And then why famous? Because first it's really tasty. You must taste it, a unique taste, like not just a spice, but it's rather sweet and sweet, spicy, and sometimes it's little salty. It's depend on where, it's depend on the area and the culture like that. Maybe that's all.
Yeah, it's actually exactly 2 minutes. Miss Tracy, can you go to the third part, please, if you have the questions with you?
What are the types of food that people eat in your country?
Pardon, can you repeat, Miss Tracy? Sorry.
What are the types of food that people eat in your country?
Or type of food, it's like use a coconut milk, like rendang or a gulai or some things like that.
What about foreign foods? What kind of foreign foods are popular in your country?
I'm sorry, I really don't know about that, but maybe some like a palai, that's called, we call it palai, but I don't know how to explain it.
In your country, is it important to have a meal together with your family?
Yeah, it's always it's really important, because when the family gathering, that's how we feel warm and feel welcome in this world. I think that's.
Thank you. Time's up. I'm sorry, Miss Tracy and Miss Mutia. Miss Tracy, would you please give some feedback for Miss Mutia for part 2 and part 3, please?
Okay. So in part 2, I think you repeated, not repeated, but you started to describe it with what it looks like. It's not a transition from the food I would like to describe. Be a little bit careful of your articles. You said that it's made with a meat or a chicken. So this is saying that only a piece of meat or a potato. So be careful there.
Okay.
With your part 3, it was good that you didn't know about foreign foods, but you still tried to answer the question, which is good. Sometimes you don't have an answer for this. And I think in the fourth question, you explained why. So part 3 is about what your opinion is. So I think, or I believe, or I know that something, and then explain why.
Okay.
So I think because, or I think because this has happened to me, or because I read this, or it's about your opinion for part 3.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy, for your feedback. Thank you, Ms. Mutia, for your participation as well. The second person that goes to is Ms. Mailsa Santri. Okay, this is question for you. Ms. Tracy, would you mind to read the question, please?
Describe a family member that you get on well with. You should mention what their personality is like, what things they like doing, if they have any strong dislikes, and say why you think you have a good relationship.
You have a minute to prepare your answer. Start from now, please. Time's up. Now you have 1 until 2 minutes to answer. Start from now, please.
All right. I'm Mailsa Santri, and so the question is about a family member that I get on well with. So the family member that I get on well with is my mother here. Yeah. Well, I would say that my mother is as much as like me. Like we have a very much similarity. So she's a kind person, a kind woman, and she is also friendly. And then she is a warm, but sometimes she can be a little bit fierce to me and all of the family members. And then especially when we didn't do the things that she ordered well, or maybe we don't really do what she said. And then she also likes cooking. She is a really good cook. She also likes to travel to new places as well as me. That's why that is what I also like to do. She likes to go to beautiful places, like some places with good scenery, for example, like beach or mountains or some kind of things. She really likes to entertain herself by going to the places she loves. And I think what she dislikes mostly is about the things that is not tidy. I mean, she's a really organized person, a well-organized person, so she don't like to
Time's
sweeping.
up, Miss Melsa. We go to the third part, Trace. You may continue, please.
Is family important in your country?
All right, is family important in my country? I think it is, yes. Maybe some of us also know that Indonesia is what is it? It is a family. What is it? The family people, I would say. People in Indonesia were a family person, so we put family first over the things.
Who
That
should be responsible to care for the elderly? Should it be the government or the family?
Well, in my country, the one who are responsible for to take care for the elderly are their children. So it is not really written like in official what is it, a rule or regulation, but it is happen naturally in my country where people, elderly people are taken care by their children. And I think all of people in Indonesia, in my country, apply that. That is.
Thank you, Trace. Thank you, Miss Melsa. Time's up.
It's over.
It's over already. Miss Tracy, would you please give some feedback for Melsa?
Yeah, I think part 2 was really good. You have a good range of vocabulary. You answered all of the prompts that was there. Yeah, so part 2 is quite good. Be careful of transitioning between the points. I know that you said in the very beginning, the question is to describe a family, and then you said, I would like to describe a family. So you're just repeating what the question actually is, the topic. And then in part 3, be careful again not to repeat the question to the examiner. This is using up valuable time that you have to express to the examiner about your answers. And remember that these are your opinion and your reasons as to why you have this opinion. So you said, I think, and then talked about the family being taken care of by the children, and then that it was not the official rule and that sort of thing. So it was good.
Thanks a million, Miss Tracy and Mr. Dennis.
You're welcome.
Elsa and Miss Tracy. That's the end of the speaking session. So probably I'll give it back to the moderator if there is time to question and answers, or if there is no more time, you want to give something else before we do the listening. Miss Anissa, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis and Ms. Tracy. It was very interesting, and the presentation and simulation is wonderful. I learned a lot. The presentation was very informative and gave us a lot of new insights. But I'm sorry, sad to say this, but we don't have enough time for the speaking session. And before we move to the next session, which is Ielts listening session, I would like to invite Mr. Mangaraja, the head of Forum Wacana 2022, to present a certificate to Ms. Tracy as a token of appreciation. To Mr. Mangaraja, please do the honors.
Baik, thank you to Mr. Tracy Septin and Mr. Dennis. We give to you sertifikat. Mudah-mudahan sertifikat ini bisa bermanfaat dan bisa kedepannya menyambung hubungan yang lebih panjang, dan mudah-mudahan harapannya mahasiswa IPB bisa lebih baik lagi ke depan. Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for having me.
Kembalikan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tracy. Next, we will move to the Ielts listening session. To Mr. Dennis, you have 30 minutes. The stage is now yours. If I'm not mistaken, Ms. Tracy will, as there is other appointment, yes, after this.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you
okay.
very much, Tracy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Good luck,
Thank
everybody.
you, Tracy.
A great time, Tracy.
We have, it's a pleasure to have you here. We learned a lot.
Okay. So before we go to the listening part, I would like to show you, before we go to the listening, I actually want to answer questions first from Miss Dewi Uswatun. So Okay, just a moment. I just want to prepare something first. Okay, speaking practice group. Oh, suddenly the computer's not working. Okay, just a moment, yeah. Okay. So for some of you, if you don't have any community to talk with, I actually have a free group for speaking. Jadi gratis ya buat siapapun yang mau belajar bahasa Inggris speaking. So we don't talk about grammar, we don't talk about Ielts in this class. This is more about speaking practice group. And we always have a meeting every Sunday night. But special for this Ramadan, the speaking practice group will be conducted every Sunday morning at 6. So we already did the meeting this morning. So for Miss Dewi, if you wanna have better speaking, if you wanna have better practice, you may join the speaking practice group. I will share the WhatsApp group and also the Zoom meeting that we always conduct every time. So that's also for Miss Dewi and for others. Yeah. So that's about the question that I also would like to apologize if I cannot answer directly. Yeah, because I try manage my time to be the timer and also to answer your questions. So now let's move on to the listening part. If you don't mind, Miss Anissa, you may also remind me for the time. Okay. If I speak too long, just remind me. I will still read the chat box anyway. Or if I don't read the chat box, just interrupt me. Okay. Thank you, Miss Anissa. So now we move on to the listening introduction. So, okay. In IELTS listening test, there will be 4 parts or 4 tasks or 4 sections, whatever the names are. So in the paper-based type, you will have 30 minutes more or less to listen, and you have 10 minutes extra to transfer your answers to the answering sheet. But if you take the computer-based, you will only have 2 minutes to review the answers. So different than the paper-based. And in IELTS listening tasks or sections or parts, there are 4 parts. The first one is part 1. It's related to 2 speakers. They will talk about general topic. You may hear the conversation related to applying a job, answering a phone, or booking a hotel, something like that. That would be in speaking in IELTS listening part 1. In IELTS listening part 2, you will only hear one person. This person will talk more about some general talk, such as introducing the new building or introducing the organization member. It's not related to the academic situation at all for first part and second part. You might get questions related to the map. That's what we will also try to do today. And for the third part and the fourth part, it's more about the academic situation. In the third part, you mostly will hear 2 people, but there is a possibility that you hear more than 2 people, 2 until 4 speakers. And the situation can be about some people who prepare the presentation, some people who prepare the event or anything like that related to the academic situation. And the last part, you will hear an academic lecture, either from the lecturer, from the expert, or from someone who knows a lot about the academic situation. And you only hear for a speaker at that moment. And this is only just general tips since we only have limited time. So different than TOEFL. In TOEFL, you have A, B, C, you have someone's talking and some people talking and you have questions. In IELTS now, so you need to be careful with the words or numbers, and you need to read every instruction because each part probably has different instruction. And second one, this is technically, actually, I do not really implement this second tips. If you want to predict, that would be good. But if you cannot predict, or it might ruin out your focus. So it's fine to just focus to the question and the answer as well. And number 3, spelling checkers and spelling numbers checkers are important, because if you only just miss a letter, your answer would be wrong. So let me introduce you one type of the section 1 or part 1 that you may have. So in this type, you will hear the bankside recruitment agency, and always read the instruction here. Write one word and or a number. So let's say, if let me give you example. If the answer is 2 cats, it's fine, because you have one number and one word. Even if you say, if the answer 200,000 cats, 200,000 is including a number. If you only answer cats, let's say that's what we hear, then it's also fine, because the instructions say one word. Even if you say 200,000, it depends on the question, yeah? But if you answer 2 cats with the words, or you say 200 cats, 200,000, let's say, it's absolutely wrong. So that's about the instruction, yeah, the general instruction. So you will always need to read the instruction. Sama kalau kita kuliah juga kita harus baca ya, itu instruksinya kayak gimana. Kalau enggak kita bisa salah ngejawab. So that's why now we're gonna try to listen part 1. I will just try to play questions number 1 until number 5, and after that we will get some discussions. If you know the answer, you can type down in the chat box whatever your answer is. So please answer question number 1 until 5 in the chat box. I will play twice, but the first time without stop, and the second time I will interact more with you. And this is the audio.
Ielts 15. Published by Cambridge University Press and Cambridge Assessment English 2020. This recording is copyright. Test 1. This is the Ielts listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to part 1. Part 1. You will hear a woman phoning a friend to get information about a job agency. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, William. This is Amber. You said to phone if I wanted to get more information about the job agency you mentioned. Is now a good time?
Hi, Amber. Yes, fine. So the agency I was talking about is called Bankside. They're based in Docklands. I can tell you the address now. 497 East Side.
OK, thanks. So is there anyone in particular I should speak to there?
The agent I always deal with is called Becky Jameson.
Let me write that down. Becky
Jameson. J-A-M-I-E-S-O-N.
Do you have her direct line?
Yes, it's in my contacts somewhere. Right, here we are. 07866 510 333. I wouldn't call her until the afternoon if I were you. She's always really busy in the morning trying to fill last-minute vacancies. She's really helpful and friendly, so I'm sure it would be worth getting in touch with her for an informal chat.
It's mainly clerical and admin jobs they deal with, isn't it?
That's right. I know you're hoping to find a full-time job in the media eventually, but Becky mostly recruits temporary staff for the finance sector, which will look good on your CV and generally pays better too.
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried because I don't have much office experience.
I wouldn't worry. They'll probably start you as a receptionist or something like that. So what's important for that kind of job isn't so much having business skills or knowing lots of different computer systems, it's communication that really matters, so you'd be fine there. And you'll pick up office skills really quickly on the job. It's not that complicated.
Okay, good. So how long do people generally need temporary staff for? It would be great if I could get something lasting at least a month.
That shouldn't be too difficult. But you're more likely to be offered something for a week at first, which might get extended. It's unusual to be sent somewhere for just a day or two.
Right. I've heard the pay isn't too bad. Better than working in a shop or a restaurant.
Oh yes, definitely. The hourly rate is about £10, 11 if you're lucky.
That's pretty good. I was only expecting to get £8 or £9 an hour.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
Okay, we will not do question 6 until 10. So I just want to show you question 1 until 5. So if you can type down your answers that you got, I will give you 10 seconds to type them down on the chat box. Okay, 10 seconds begin to count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, I think I counted correctly. I'm worried that I didn't count correctly. Okay, so thank you for every participant who tried to answer the question. So I just want to ask randomly from your answer. I would like to start from someone who asked me earlier, Miss Dewi Usfatun. Miss Dewi Usfatun, would you mind to turn on your microphone, Miss Dewi?
Yes, Mr. It's my
Would you please help me again to re-listen question number 1, yeah? And then after that, you can type down the answer again in the chat box. Question number 1. Okay. This is the question for Miss Dewi.
Hello, William. This is Amber. You said to phone if I wanted to get more information about the job agency you mentioned. Is now a good time?
Hi, Amber. Yes, fine. So the agency I was talking about is called Bankside. They're based in Docklands. I can tell you the address now, 497 East Side.
Okay, thanks. So is there anyone in particular I should speak to there?
The agent I always deal with is called Becky Jameson.
Let me write that down. Becky
Jameson. Jameson.
Do you have her...
Okay. So Miss Dewi, can you type down your answer again? Is it the same as before or it's going to be different? Boleh ditulis sekali lagi Miss Dewi di chat box. Okay. Can you spell it for us? Boleh tolong dibantu di ejak?
Let me spell it, Mr.
Please. Yes.
Jameson.
Let's check the answer. It is Jameson. Thank you, Dewi, for your answer. Okay, the next participant, I want to ask for Miss Aisyah Nuhasana. Would you mind to turn on your microphone, Miss Aisha? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Miss Aisha, would you please help me to listen question number 2, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, number 2, this is the question.
Direct line.
Yes, it's in my contacts somewhere. Right, here we are. 07866 510 333. I wouldn't call her until the afternoon if I were you. She's always really busy in the morning trying to fill last-minute vacancies.
What do you think the best answer for number 2, Miss Aisha?
Best to call her in the afternoon because the morning he's busy.
Okay, would you please type them down in the chat box so we can see your spelling as well?
Okay.
Okay, yes. Okay, the best answer for number 2 is afternoon. Great job, Miss Aisha. The next participant, I want to nominate Miss, hold on, I saw her name, Frilianti Putri. Miss Frilianti Putri, would you mind to help me for answering question number 3? Can you turn on your microphone probably? Okay, if Miss Frilianti is not there, oh yeah, okay, Miss Fitria. I call you by Miss Fitria Frilianti. I saw the voice, but the voice suddenly disappeared. Miss Frilianti, are you there?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah. Help me for questions number 3, yeah? I'll play one more time.
She's really helpful and friendly, so I'm sure it would be worth getting in touch with her for an informal chat.
It's mainly clerical and admin jobs they deal with, isn't it?
That's right. I know you're hoping to find a full-time job in the media eventually, but Becky mostly recruits temporary staff for the finance sector, which will look good on your CV and generally pays better too.
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried because I don't have much office experience.
I wouldn't worry. They'll probably start you as a receptionist or something like that. So what's important for that kind of job isn't so much having business skills or knowing lots of different computer systems, it's communication that really matters.
What do you think the best answer is, Miss Frilianti? Okay. Yeah, you answer businesses and computers. Actually, it's not matter, it says. It is mentioned. Yes, business and computers are mentioned there. But the best answer for number 3 is communication is matter. Yeah. While number 4, the answer, jobs are usually for at least one week, and it pays for 10 and 11 if you are lucky. The question is usually, so the best answer is 10 pounds per hour. You can answer with TEN or with the number 10. Miss Anissa, how many minutes do I have left?
We still have about 10 minutes, still a
Oh,
lot.
I still have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you too. I just worry because I thought that it's 3 o'clock. Okay, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will not give you more. I will show you if there is a computer-based test look like. Yeah. So I will show you the link. Okay. Give me some time first to open the link. Okay, because if I direct show it from the Zoom, it will not be that fast. Okay, so let me show you this part. Okay. If you take the computer base, previously it is more like the paper base. This link I will also share to the group later on. It's free. Yeah, you can open it for free. So during the real test, you will see the question palette. So in the computer base, you can type down directly on the question here. Let's say model number TN0523, let's say. Yeah, I just make it up in this case. And then you can see that the color change from light blue into dark blue. Okay. And during the real test also, you cannot see display button. No, because the audio will be played directly from the central computer. And then in the real test, you actually, in the computer base, you can take notes. Let's say that if I say I am hungry, I am actually hungry because it's fasting, yeah. But I don't ask you to break your fast. I'm just saying that I'm hungry. So you can take some notes, but you are also given a piece of paper to take notes, even though you take the computer base. Okay, and the first part will be look like this. It's gonna be filling the form, and the second part will be similar like this. It's gonna be the map. It could be about map. It could be also, so the map you can just click, is it A or B? Yeah. And another type, so you will always read the instruction. So this is the second part look like. Okay, this is the audio of second part. I just introduce you the audio, but I will not do many things, but I will share my PowerPoint that you can listen by yourself.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the University of New South Wales. The first thing I'd like to do at today's orientation session is get you all oriented. That means tell you the location of some useful facilities and services. So, first of all, take out the maps we gave you all as you came in the door. The map is the big yellow sheet of paper. As you can see on the map, north is at the top, south at the bottom, etc.
I will not continue until the end. So that's the listening part 2 look like. You will hear a person, and what you need to do later on is to fill the questions. So if you want to feel the test look like, you can join the prediction test, which is provided by the Forum Wacana. I think there are still some slots, isn't it, Miss Anissa? Okay.
Yes, there's still a lot slots, and we also have a door prize. So for the participants who is very active in this session, we'll have a chance to win 60% discount for the prediction test.
60%! I want to be the one of it. Okay, that's the listening part 2 look like. While the listening part 3, it's question 21 until 30. You might get questions. This is the most common one. You will answer questions 23 until 24 while you're listening 2 until 4 people. Let's listen. And it starts the academic situation here.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Come in.
Professor Dundee, we're ready to make our presentation.
Oh, yes. I did say 1 o'clock, didn't I? Please, sit down. So, who goes first? Bruce? Or you, Betty?
I guess I could. Bruce is always a little shy.
Not after he's had a lager for lunch, eh, Bruce? Ha ha! No, Betty really should go first.
So you may listen that there are 3 people. The professor, Betty, and Bruce. While during my test, I only experienced one time when I did it in British Council. When I listened, and I also, when I did in ILF, it's also 3 people, if I'm not mistaken. So you may listen 2 until 4 people. While the last part, this is actually my favorite part. In the beginning, it's the least part. I always sleep whenever I listen to the 4th part. But after I actually, this is the way that I answer. So I don't really feel, I can still keep my eyes open. And it's my favorite one, actually. So because why? Because it's only just fill the blank. And only one speaker. This is the speaker or the audio look like.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our exhibition, 2 Centuries of the Bike. Let's stroll around the exhibition, shall we? Although there were a few early efforts back in the 1700s, you didn't really see many bikes till, say, the 1830s in England. Bikes were a response to the rapid growth of cities early in the 19th century. Cities like London were getting too big to walk across. The early bike let people travel with less effort than walking. Plus, a bike was a lot cheaper than a horse. Think of it. No one invented a bike for, 5,000 years of human history. Why did people do it then? Probably because this was the start of the machine.
Okay, that's what listening part 4 look like. You will listen the audio. But I need to tell you that this website, the speed is much faster than the real test. So I suggest if you want to study either the paper-based or the computer-based, you can use the Cambridge book, the one that I sent to the group earlier. You can take it because you can take them. I gave you book 14 and book 15 because during the prediction test, if you do the prediction test, it will not come from book 14 or 15. But I will not tell you which book do I use for our prediction. But to be honest, it's not from Leaders English. It's from Cambridge book, and I really appreciate that book. So
Hello, Mr. Dennis. Look like there is some connection problem.
listening part, it's like my internet. Okay, I'm sorry. I have the Miss Anissa. Can you hear my voice now?
Yes, I can. It's clear.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had the connection problem earlier. So to close my statement, and after this, if you have any questions, you may. If you want to follow the preparation, I actually will open the class in May, 7 May. 7 May on weekend class, and also, if I'm mistaken, 11 May or 10 May for weekday class. So I know I don't want to promote, but I need to because I have a business. So, but I don't force you to join my course. So if you want to join with us, I have the Ielts course, TOEFL course, or conversation course, and the investment that you can invest is 700,000 rupiah, 700,000 for 14 meetings, and you will get 2 native speakers online. So you can either choose IELTS, you can choose TOEFL, you can choose conversation, or if you want to take both courses, it's fine. So probably that's all about what I want to say. I'll give it back to Miss Anissa. About the other listening practices, I will share to the group. So you may try to listen by yourself. Or if you want to join the online course with me, you may. If you want to join the speaking practice group, before I forget, I will share to the group about the WhatsApp group link. So you may join our WhatsApp. It's free for the speaking practice group. But if you want to join my commercial class, you may also join. I'll give it back to Miss Anissa, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Thank you too for the valuable information about IELTS that you share with us. We also get a lot of study materials. Before we close this session, I invite our chairman of the committee, Eka Nur Hasanat, to present a certificate as a token of appreciation from us to Mr. Dennis. To Eka, please do the honor.
Terima kasih Mr. Dennis atas ilmu yang telah diberikan. Semoga ilmunya berkah dan manfaat bagi kita semua. Kemudian kami ada sedikit apresiasi nih Mr. untuk kenang-kenangan berupa sertifikat. Semoga dapat digunakan dan bermanfaat di kemudian hari. Mohon diterima Mr. Dennis.
Ya, terima kasih banyak buat teman-teman from Wacana. Mohon maaf ya kalau saya galak. Kalau misalkan saya suka marah-marah, mohon maaf ya. Thank you very much. Thank you also for all participants, especially for Eka. Mohon maaf ya kalau saya lama balasnya apa-apa.
Ya.
Thank you.
Okay, finally we came to the end of the presentation session. I want to remind everyone that IELTS not only consists of listening and speaking. There are also reading and writing sessions. So please, I hope to see you all of you again in the next webinar. We will discuss about IELTS reading and writing. So I think this is the end for the session. I would like to say thanks again to our wonderful speakers and also all the participants. It's really interesting to see how active all of you here. So I hope you enjoy today's webinar. I will give it back to the Master of Ceremony. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Nisa sudah memoderatori kegiatan pada hari ini. Oke, finally we come to the end of this webinar. Jangan lupa untuk seluruh partisipan mengisi presensi yang telah dikirimkan panitia di room chat dan jangan lupa minggu depan kita masih ada pertemuan lanjutan. Jadi tetap mengikuti kegiatannya. Dan kami juga punya satu informasi menarik bahwa di webinar kedua akan ada pengumuman untuk pemenang door prize. Jadi yang telah datang hari ini untuk tetap hadir minggu depannya. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your coming and your nice attention, and sorry for any mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Thank you all.
Thank you
See you
for
again
all of
next
the committee.
See you next week.
See you next week.
See you.
Okay, I'm going to leave this room.